I don't believe there's any pain points when you actually try to build a genuine relationship with a customer. The best customer experiences happen when you don't treat them like a commodity. When it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, the greatest customer experiences take place when you recognize that unreasonable hospitality is one-size-fits-one. Because the best gestures are those that are bespoke to the individual, that make them feel genuinely seen, that show them that you, care enough to listen and then to do something with what you heard. The pain points that exist when a company is talking about it, they exist because they're not actually making the decision to try. Oftentimes, plenty of companies talk about how customer service is important and hospitality matters, and yet when you look at their actions, it becomes very clear that it is very low on the list of priorities. Based on A, how much they talk about it within the organization, B, how many resources they're willing to put behind it. If you decide the relationships are important to you and you genuinely, authentically, with every ounce of your being, start trying, well, then you start succeeding. The pain point is that people talk about it without ever genuinely being willing to start trying.
So one day, I closed the restaurant. I brought in the entire team, broke them up into groups, and did an exercise that I now call an interrogation of the guest journey. And so I broke them up into groups, 8 people around a round table. I gave them all one of those long rolls of paper. And I said, hey, I want you to name with excruciating specificity every single touch point in the experience, every moment of interaction between us and the people we're serving. The group got started right away. And about an hour in, all of them started to raise their hands saying they were done, and they'd identified about 35 touch points in the experience. I pushed them. I said, there are a lot more, keep going. An hour after that, they raised their hand again, and they'd gotten the number up to about 70. I pushed them further. After 3 hours, they'd gotten that number up to about 120 touch points. That was enough, at least to get started. Now that we'd isolated all of them, now the fun part started. Now we got to try to elevate as many of them as possible. I'll give you an example. Close to the end of everyone's list, it said, we dropped the check. Okay, of course. Millions of restaurants in the world, at the end of every single one, you get a bill. And yet, in spite of that, I've never seen anyone approach that part of the experience with any sense of creativity or intention. Well, no, I shouldn't say no one. Has anyone here, I don't know if these even exist here, have you been to like a diner kind of restaurant where they give you one of those mints with the check, one of those red and white mints? Is that a thing? That's innovation. It's actually impactful innovation. Cornell University, they did a study. They compared 1,000 diners that give a mint with the check to 1,000 that don't. The ones that did, on average, had 18% higher tips. Proof that generosity begets generosity asymmetrically. You give a little bit, you get a lot more in return. The cost of the mints was a lot lower than the value of the tips. But outside of that, nothing. Perhaps because it's a hard moment in the meal to get right. Everyone in this room, you have this in common. You get very impatient the moment you ask for the bill. If it takes us too long to give it to you, we've ruined the meal. Yet at the same time, I can't drop the check on your table before you've asked for it. Otherwise, what do you think I'm trying to do? Rush you out. It's also an especially hard moment in a fine dining restaurant because, well, it's a really big bill. And the moment you know how much the meal costs, you like it just a little bit less. So for those reasons, no innovation. Now that we'd written it down, we had the opportunity to make it more awesome. This is what we came up with. If the two of you were dining with us. And I knew you were done. You hadn't asked for the check yet, but I knew you were done. I'd go to your table with a glass for each one of you and an entire bottle of cognac. I'd pour just a splash of cognac into each of your glasses, and I'd say, hey, thank you so much for joining us. This is with our compliments. I'm going to leave the entire bottle here. Help yourselves to as much as you'd like. And then I put the check down. And say your check is right here whenever you're ready for it. Okay, what did we accomplish? First, no one ever had to ask for the check again. Second, no one could ever think we were trying to rush them out. I just gave them an entire bottle of free booze. Third, it didn't cost us that much. Rarely did anyone drink more than that splash we'd poured into their glasses. Yet, at the moment we dropped that big bill, we matched it with a gesture of profound generosity. which kept the value proposition intact. Perhaps my favorite part, I believe that no matter what you do for a living, if you want to create a culture of hospitality, your business's experience needs to feel, even in the smallest of ways, like you're inviting someone over to your home for dinner. All of this because we wrote this down and decided to make it more awesome. And by the way, I've talked to people who dined with us then. Mind you, one of the great restaurants in the world serving unbelievable food, they don't remember a single thing they ate. But they'll never forget how we made them feel when we dropped off that cognac.
Technology is playing a big role in customer experience these days. The question that a lot of leaders ask me is, why, Stephen, should we invest in these new technologies? And I think you need to look at this from a customer point of view. Ask yourself, what are the scarce resources that customers have? It's time, money, and energy. Most people would like to have more time, more money, more energy, right? So ask yourself, with technology, can we become a time saver? Can we become a money saver? Can we be an energy giver? Because if you apply technology right, it leads to new benefits for your customers. And the benefits, in my opinion, are that you can proactively solve problems. It's becoming faster in real time. It's about hyper-personalization. It's not about segmentation anymore. It's about the needs of the individual customer. And it's creating the most convenient interaction as possible. AI creates new opportunities in customer relations. Just look at the field of personalization. I think that's where we're going to see a huge difference. If you ever took a marketing course in the past, they taught you the concept of segmentation. And segmentation was great in the 1980s when you didn't have customer data because it's a proxy to reality. Basically, you know what segmentation is all about, right? They say take every woman between 30 and 40 that has 2 children that works full time. That's a segment, which makes the assumption that all of those women are exactly the same, that they have the same needs, that they need the same products, same kind of communication, which is insane because all of those women are completely different. Today, we live in a world where you have the opportunity to actually personalize and forget the idea of segmentation, or at least the segment size should be 1. And that creates more value. It means that the message is more relevant to the consumer. It means that your chances of success, of selling something or to creating a bond with that consumer is increasing rapidly. So I see huge opportunities for personalization and AI. And if you use technology from the customer point of view, and if you see how technology can add value to the customer, then you're going to make a major step forward in improving your relationship with that customer. At the end of the day, if the customer does not value the things that you do, you're not going to get sustainable growth. You're going to go out of business. Some people ask me, but what is the essence, Stephen, of customer experience? And I have the feeling that we sometimes make it way too complex because in essence, customers only want 2 things from you. They want you to keep your promise in terms of product, in terms of quality, service, communication. You have to do what you promised them. And on the other hand, the second dimension is, how do you make them feel when they do business with you? It's not just keeping your promise. It's the emotion that comes with that, keeping your promise. And if you work on those 2, you keep your promise and you add a certain positive feeling around that, then you're going to have growth. And if you can do that in a way that you differentiate yourself from others, that you bring relevance to the market, and that you can connect with your customers, then you're going to have a super successful growth. But it starts from understanding how you can create value for your customer.
This is my belief. If you want to differentiate your company as a leader, it's customer culture that will do the trick, not technology, not something else, not a new product. It's customer culture. If you want to make your diamond shiny, it's about changing the mindset. And I would like to walk you through 4 mindset transformations that you can go through as a leader to become a shiny diamond in a digital world towards your customers. The first one is really about mindset. I live in Belgium. Most of you live in Finland. If I have to summarize the Belgium weather to you between October and June, this is a pretty accurate summary. And if you see this for 2 weeks, there's only one thing that you want in life. You want to see a clear blue sky. It doesn't have to be warm, but clear blue sky. We want to see the sun, right? Or if we have all these nationalities here, if all of us would open up our news app on our phone, this is the summary of our news app. Super negative, but we read it, we get dragged into it, doesn't make us happy, but we keep reading it. As businesses, we need to play a different role. I am still surprised that you have so many companies that actually communicate the things they will not do towards their customers. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Negative communication doesn't work. Imagine that you smoke and you throw your cigarettes on the floor. A sign like this will not stop you. And you can make that a little bit more aggressive or a little bit more emotional, will not stop you. I don't know if you know this, but in Lisbon, in Portugal, there are no more cigarettes on the floor. They solved it since they installed this in their cities. Who's the best player in the world? And you can vote with your cigarettes. Huh? I love this. I love this. But we have a need for positivity in our businesses. Our customers love positivity. And if we do it right, we will create impact. I got super convinced about that 2 summers ago when me and my family, we went to see Top Gun Maverick. I don't know if you've seen it, but we are big Tom Cruise fans, so we've seen it multiple times. But it's a unique film because it's about the US Navy. It has fighter jets and bombs and rockets, but still it's a feel-good film. No one dies in the film. There's no real enemy in the film. And it's also super predictable. Like in the beginning, Tom Cruise gets this mission impossible. That happens if you're Tom Cruise. And they tell you, it has never been done before. You may die. But the moment he gets that briefing, you already know how that film will end. You see the closing scene when he gets off the jets and with the hugs and the kisses and everything. You already know. The question is this what people want? Feel good, easy to understand, predictable. Is this what customers expect from you? And the answer, my friends, is yes. This is what people expect from you. Top Gun Maverick was the film with the highest review scores in 2022, was the film with the highest revenue in 2022. Best scoring Tom Cruise film in his entire career. So my first invitation this afternoon to all of you is, can you add a little bit of that Top Gun effect to everything that you do in your company? Look for the details, look for automated mails, look for your invoices, look for the communication when you send out emails if people don't pay for the invoices. Look at micro things, but also look at a macro level. But try to add positivity in everything that you do in your customer relationship.
I think hospitality and service are 2 different things. Hospitality is the way you make people feel. Service is just the thing you do for them. And oftentimes it's hard for people to understand the difference between those 2. I mean, in my world, service is getting the right plate of food to the right person at the right time. Hospitality is the depth of connection you establish with them. The best guidance I can give people when trying to delineate between 2 gestures, whether one is hospitality or one is service, is to ask a simple question. Does this gesture make the person on the receiving end feel seen as an individual? If it does, it's hospitality. If it doesn't, it's service. Service is important, but at the end of the day, it's a part of the product. If we're not imbuing the experience also with hospitality, we're leaving plenty of room for growth unattended. And I believe the greatest things happen when you make people feel seen.